everybody, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new tutorial. And I'm going to be featuring some fun SugarPea Designs dies in creating this colorful scene card. The products that I'll be using in today's video are the large striped cover plate die, the Around the Town die set, and also the Hello die. And these are all SugarPea Designs dies. I've already cut the large striped cover plate die, and you can see that there on the side. We're going to set that aside while we work on die cutting these little houses and buildings that are part of the Around the Town die set. So I'm going to use my Mini Blossom Ultinu die cutting machine today to cut these out, and I'm cutting them from Simon's white 120-pound cardstock. Now these houses only cut everything but the bottom portion of the house, and that allows you to be able to cut these on the edge and create some really fun designs. However, if you just trim off the bottom portion of each building off of the paper, you can then use these individual houses as fun little elements to build cute scenes. I'm going to be coloring these with Copic markers, so I'm going to attach them down onto a piece of Post-it note to be able to hold these in place as I work with them. It's so much easier to have them held down while you're coloring. Now before I start the coloring, I wanted to show you, I've really been enjoying using this color swatch book that Copic marker has. I really liked this book because it allows me to see all of the color families in one place, and it helps me pick what colors I want to use very, very easily. So I've been using this a lot lately when I'm doing my coloring, and I've been really happy with how it works. So I'm using just 2 colors per building to color in the shapes and create some really colorful houses and places that are going to go and create a full scene across the entire card that I'm going to be building today. I really love working on top of Simon's white 120-pound cardstock for Copic coloring. I feel like the colors really blend nicely together, and it's something that I've really also enjoyed using with my markers. This die does also cut some roofs that you can also add on top of your buildings, and I'm either coloring those with a slightly darker variation of the color that the building already is, or I'm using a complementary color. It all depends on which shade I was using and what I felt like adding to the houses. Now each house and building does have windows. However, because this card is so colorful and there are so many houses in this particular scene, plus also the fact that my scene is a daytime scene, all of those combined is why I'm not going to be using any of the windows. So I popped all of those windows out after I colored all of my different houses. I'm using my Nuvo Smooth Precision glue pen to be able to adhere all of the roofs on top of the houses. Then I'll move on to the trees. For the trees, I used just a few shades of green, and I'm going to color in both the tops of the trees with the green and then the bottom trunks of the trees with some brown. Now that my coloring is finished, I'm going to start working on putting all of this together into my scene. Now, I love looking for creative ways to use my dies, and when I saw this cover plate die from SugarPea Designs, it immediately made me think of a really awesome gradually cascading up the card city scene. And I felt that this was a really unique way to be able to not only use this die, but also a unique way to be able to use just the houses themselves. So I'm going to cover this entire piece of white cardstock that I cut the cover plate from. I covered every little area to make sure that there's no areas that are going to sag and cause any issues with building my scene. I'll attach that down onto a blue card base that I made from some Simon Says Stamped sea glass cardstock, and now I have this really nice dimension for the card panel. Now I can start bringing in my houses and fitting them around and deciding where I want to put everything. Once I have my placement decided and I like the way everything is looking, I'll start adhering all these together. Now I found the best way to adhere these was to take a piece of foam tape, a very small sliver, and attach it to the bottom portion of the house. Then I'll take some tacky glue from Simon Says Stamp and add that just in the area that's going to cover over the bar from the next stripe in this background. That'll hold these houses together really, really well, and I really like that it gives everything a nice even dimension across this card. So in the end, this card is really only 1 layer thick. Even though we put foam tape on everything, the fact that these houses are also on 1 layer of foam tape just like the background plate means that everything is on the same level. So this isn't going to be a super bulky card, which is great for mailing. Now, of course, you can't have a daytime scene without some clouds. One of my favorite cloud dies is the swirl stitched clouds from Memory Box. I'm going to cut those from that same 120-pound white cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I cut that quite a few times, and I'll use Copic marker in just a very light color and add just a tiny bit of shading to the clouds just to give them a little bit of dimension. I also cut the Hello script die from SugarPea Designs using a bit of black cardstock and some Tonic Studios black glitter cardstock. So there's a total of 4 layers of cardstock here, with the glitter paper being on top, and that gives me a slightly more dimensional sentiment. Alright, so I finished the card, and at this point I decided I wanted to have a coordinating envelope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a couple of stencils. I first have the Waves and Hills stencil from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to blend a bit of Twisted Citron and also Mowed Lawn Distress Inks into one of the hill scenes. And that'll just give me a nice little hilly scene that will go really nicely with the clouds that I'm going to add across the rest of this envelope. I'll take the Clouds for Days stencil, which is also another Simon Says Stamp stencil that I really love, and I'll use the new Tumble Glass Distress Ink and even just a tiny bit of Blueprint Sketch to darken up some of these clouds just to give things a little bit more depth and interest. I used just a very sparing touch of Blueprint Sketch because I didn't want it to overwhelm the beautiful light blue of the Tumble Glass. But after I'm all done, that leaves me with a really colorful sky stencil that matches perfectly with our card. And it's always fun to be able to create a matching envelope that coordinates with the card that you're going to be giving to somebody. I hope that you have gotten some inspiration on using your dies more creatively and that you'll give this scene building idea a try. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will be back again very soon with more inspiration for you. But until next time, I hope you have a great day. Bye!